Hey everyone, Brandon here from TruckSafe. Following on the heels of a somewhat botched rollout of changes to its medical exam process for CDL drivers, the FMCSA is modifying a temporary waiver to allow CDL drivers and the carriers that hire them to continue relying on paper med cards for a period of time after their issuance. That's what we're discussing in this video, so stay tuned and do us a favor by clicking those like and subscribe buttons below. Alright, so here's the picture. You're a CDL driver going in for your routine DOT physical examination, as you've done for many years, expecting to receive a paper med card as proof of your physical qualifications, as you always have. Well, as we've discussed in prior videos, the process through which your physical qualification is documented was supposed to have changed to a fully electronic process on June 23rd of 2025, meaning that, as of that date, medical examiners were no longer supposed to be issuing paper med cards. Instead, they were to electronically transmit the results of your exam to the National Register of Medical Examiners and then on to your state licensing agency to get associated with your driving record. This planned change was intended to modernize the process and cut down on potential fraud. The problem, however, is that the transition to a fully electronic process hasn't been smooth sailing. Earlier in July, we told you about an initial waiver FMCSA had to issue because only 38 states and the District of Columbia were fully on board with this new process. States like California, Florida, New York, and others are still playing catch-up, and that's continuing to cause substantial delays in getting those electronic records to the states, which leaves CDL drivers and their carriers in a bad spot. In fact, it's leading to some driver CDLs being downgraded due to their states not receiving the electronic transmissions of their new medical exam information. In light of this concern, FMCSA issued a temporary waiver, valid until October 12th of 2025, that allowed CDL drivers and their carriers to continue relying on paper med cards as proof of the driver's physical qualifications, but only for 15 days after those med cards were issued. After 15 days elapsed, they would have to ensure that the driver's medical exam information has in fact been successfully transmitted to the driver's state licensing agency and associated with their driving record as documented on a motor vehicle report, or MVR for short. Well, the transmission problems have persisted, and so the FMCSA has been forced to modify that waiver. On August 21st, 2025, FMCSA announced they've bumped up the time you can continue to rely on paper med cards from 15 days to 60 days after they are issued. So for 2 whole months after your physical examination, you can carry that paper med card as valid proof of your medical qualification. And motor carriers, you're covered too. Just keep a copy of that valid medical examiner certificate in your driver's file, and you're good to go for roadside inspections and audits, but only for 60 days after that card was issued. Once those 60 days have elapsed, the exam results need to be associated with the driver's driving record via their state licensing agency, and carriers need to have proof of that by running a new MVR, which shows the new medical examination information on it. So why the modification? Well, we still have, as of the date of this video, 12 states not fully compliant, meaning they aren't able to process the electronic transmissions. In recognition of this reality, FMCSA is making sure drivers and carriers aren't caught in the crossfire of these transition hiccups. In its waiver, the agency notes this is in the public interest because it keeps qualified drivers on the job without penalties for delays they can't control. Medical examiners are also being encouraged to keep handing out those paper med cards alongside their electronic transmissions, especially if you're licensed in a state that's lagging behind on this transition. So what's this mean for you? Well, if you're a CDL driver, make sure you continue to request from your medical examiner and carry with you that paper med card. Also, when you go in for your exam, make sure your CDL number, name, and date of birth are accurately captured by your medical examiner to avoid data mix-ups. Carriers, you've got to verify those med cards are valid and keep them on file. Once that 60-day window closes, check your CDL driver's MVRs to ensure the electronic records have in fact been updated. All right, that's going to wrap things up for this video. For even more in-depth information about these types of regulatory topics, be sure to check out our innovative online compliance courses for safety managers and for drivers over at trucksafeacademy.com. Also, be sure to check out eRegs, the first app-based digital version of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, over at eregs.app. Lastly, you can access our detailed compliance articles on our website at trucksafe.com and follow us on our various social media pages for the latest highway transportation news and analysis. Thanks for watching.